People think I'm just an MX versus ATV fanboy or a Reflex fanboy or an MX simulator fanboy. Shit, I guess I'm a fanboy of everything. Now I'm a Milestone fanboy too. Of all the positive things I'm saying about Supercross 3, now I'm a Milestone fanboy. I've came to the conclusion this is the best arcade motocross game since Reflex. And before you freak out, because I know a lot of you guys are, it's the internet. I'm not saying this game is better than Reflex. Okay, I know some of you guys are kind of getting that idea in your head after me being so positive about this game and the review that I gave on this game. Some of you guys got this weird idea in your head that I was just like getting paid under the table or saying that this game was like the best arcade game ever and all this bullshit. No, dog, no, that's not. I'm not saying it's better than Reflex. You understand what I'm saying? There's a big difference. There's a big difference in it being the best since Reflex and better than Reflex. That's a gigantic difference. It's not even on the level of Reflex. You know, fuck saying it's better than Reflex. It's not even on the level of Reflex, but it is the best since Reflex. You understand what I'm saying? And just letting you know, I'm excluding all simulators whenever I say that because those are just completely different games. So I'm not talking about MX bikes or like MX Simulator or anything like that. Just talking about this is the best arcade motocross game since Reflex, okay? That's kind of the whole gist that I'm getting at here, dog. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to come in here and just explain why that is, why I've came to that conclusion, okay? Because I know it's going to be kind of, a lot of you dudes are going to kind of freak out a little bit about that. But basically, it's actually kind of crazy when you think of how many aspects of this Supercross 3 game are actually very similar to Reflex, very reminiscent to Reflex. Like the whole seat bounce hucking system of this game being a thing in the game, unlike the first two Supercross games, but it's not an actual like button. You know, you don't see a little bar over there that's like flicking red whenever you do a seat bounce like you had in, you know, Alive, All Out, all those kind of games, which is exactly how it is in Reflex. Okay, so the whole seat bounce hucking system is probably the most similar game we've had, arcade motocross game we've had since Reflex as far as that side of it goes, like the whole seat bouncing hucking side of it. I mean, let's just keep it real right now, boys. If MX vs. ATV Alive didn't have the James Stewart compound on it, it wouldn't have been half the game that it ended up being. Let's just be honest, dog. You all know out there, if you played Alive, you probably put two to three times more time into the James Stewart compound track in that game than you have any other tracks combined, right? That's just kind of the way those games are. And then obviously, Supercross 3 is better than MX versus ATV Supercross. Any of you guys that are disagreeing with that, I just don't even really know what to tell you, dog. Literally don't even know what to tell you at all. And then it goes into MX versus ATV All Out. I feel like All Out and Alive are a little bit more like comparable. And I feel like Supercross 3 is kind of that little next step up above both of those games as far as feeling on the bike and physics on the bike and all that. Like, it's not quite to Reflex, but it's a little bit better than Alive and All Out. That's kind of where I'm at with Supercross 3 as far as the whole feeling of the bike and the physics and all that stuff. I mean, you can go into content and all that, right? Like, All Out is kind of schooling both Supercross 3 and Alive whenever it comes to content, because it's got the full National Series, it's got AMA National Series, it's got the normal motocross tracks, normal Supercross tracks, Arena Cross track series, got a lot of stuff going on with All Out as far as content. But when you talk about the bike filling, I would definitely rather be playing Supercross 3 than MX versus ATV All Out. It's just kind of crazy because, like, let me put it to you this way, okay? So I feel like Supercross 4, the official video game, could potentially be like on the same level as Reflex. I don't really think it's going to be better than Reflex, but it definitely has the potential to be on the same level as Reflex, which is still amazing considering where we've been the past like 10 years in these fucking motocross games. Been so shitty. And a game like that coming from Milestone is like, literally sounds like a myth, like, what the hell, that would never, ever happen. So if they could just get it on the level of Reflex, it'd be insane, right? And then I think Supercross 5 potentially has the possibility to be even better than Reflex. And I also think that next MX versus ATV game after All Out has the potential to be on the level of Reflex or better than Reflex. So it's really cool. There's a lot to look forward to in the arcade motocross gaming realm now that Milestone's starting to get it together, and MX vs. ATV is starting to get their head on straight with content and all that kind of stuff. I feel like we've been through the bad times of the arcade motocross gaming. It all kind of started with Alive, you know. I feel like Alive was such a backward step from Reflex, and then it just got worse from there, you know. MX vs. ATV Supercross was even worse of a backward step than Alive, you know. And I played a crap ton of Alive, dog. Some of you guys don't understand this, but the 2 arcade motocross games I probably play the most out of all of them is obviously Reflex, but then Alive. I mean, I played so much Alive back in the day, dude. It's not even funny. To some of you guys that are thinking I've like barely played it and I don't know what I'm talking about, dog, I put a lot of hours into Alive. And it just has a little bit, for my own personal taste, Alive just has a little bit too much of a floaty effect in the air. Doesn't have quite the gravitational pull that I feel like these arcade motocross games need to it. Just kind of has that feeling a little bit. You know, the infinite wheelie, your very first day playing MX vs. ATV Alive, the wheelie system is way too easy in that game. There's just certain little physics things to Alive that, you know, it was kind of like when THQ Nordic sort of took over the whole MX vs. ATV series. It's like they were trying to make something as close as they could to Reflex, but just kind of failed doing it. Alive is just a worse Reflex. That's all it really is. And then MX vs. ATV Supercross is just a worse Alive. You know what I'm saying? So, but they're starting to step in the right direction now with All Out. Like I said, I feel like All Out's a little more comparable to Alive. But with this Supercross 3 game, you know, MX vs. ATV kind of, man, it's been forever since I played Reflex. God, I look like a straight scrub right now, dog. I apologize for that, boys. I haven't played this game in forever. I ain't really sat down and played this game in like literally probably like 5 years, but I played it here and there, right? But not for any real extensive amount of time. But like, I really feel like, you know, with Milestone kind of being bought out by THQ Nordic and all that, and them getting some influence from the MX vs. ATV series, I feel like Supercross 3 is kind of that like next advancement from MX versus ATV All Out in a weird way. You know what I mean? But I certainly think that Reflex obviously still has a better terrain deformation system than Supercross 3, hands down, especially when you get on the sand tracks in this game. That's some of the best terrain deformations of any. I consider Reflex the best terrain deformation in any motocross game out there, period. Whether it be simulator, not simulator, whatever the fuck. This game has the best terrain deformation, hands down. Hands down, dude. And I like... So let me explain this to you a little bit, right? So Reflex, to me, it really... The physics and feeling of it and everything really, like... It's got a natural feeling to it. It's the most realistic arcade motocross game I feel like there is out there, physics-wise. Like, just the animations of the whips, the way you do whips, the variation to the whips, the movement when you're bouncing around on roughness, the whoop skill gap, the rut, the pre-made ruts on the motocross track, and the terrain deformed ruts, and the track designs, and the whole... Everything about Reflex, I still feel like, is outclassing any of these other arcade motocross games out here, other than obviously graphics, because this game was made back in like 08, 09, right? Obviously, Milestone has blown them out of the water in that sense at this point, but and Reflex still has a better track editor. I know it's only on PC, but still, it's still got a better track editor than the Milestone games. You can still make literally anything you want to on the Reflex track editor, national, hybrid, outdoor, indoor, motocross, supercross, trail, anything you want to make, kind of like MX Simulator, right? So that's still sort of separating Reflex from the Milestone games. There's a few things that still kind of pulling Reflex above and ahead of Supercross 3, but I certainly think Milestone's on the right path to, you know, making that Reflex competitor for sure, dude. For sure. Without a doubt. I'm just honestly to that point to where I feel like Supercross 3 is better than Alive. Not by a long shot, right? You know, don't freak out with me saying that. I'm not saying Supercross 3 is just like, oh my God, way better than Alive or anything. That's not what I'm saying, dog. But I mean, it just comes down to I would rather play Supercross 3 than play Alive. I like the physics better. I like the skill gap better in Supercross 3 than Alive. I would rather play Supercross 3 than MX vs. ATV Supercross, obviously, for a multitude of different reasons that I don't even really have to mention here for any of you guys that have played that stupid-ass game. Literally the worst MX vs. ATV game ever. And then I would rather play Supercross 3 over All Out. And that's just where I'm at on it, dog. And I would rather play Supercross 3 than any of those other Milestone games. And that's kind of self-explanatory, too, because the official Supercross 3 game is really the first Milestone game that actually has, like, an inertia filling to the bike and a physics filling to the bike and a skill gap to the game and a leaning forward and backwards system. So it's just so hard for me to go back to any of those other Milestone games at this point because I feel like I'm just playing just, like, about 1/4 of the developed physics system of what Supercross 3 is, you know what I mean? Anytime I go back to any of those other ones now, it just feels like trash. Feels like way too arcadey, no skill gap, no fun factor, no replayability. So, yeah. Just wanted to come here and make this video. Not quite to the level of Reflex. Still think Reflex has a lot more natural type physics looks and animations and fillings and whip system and certain things to Reflex I still feel like are better in ways, but they're getting there, dog. Milestone is getting there 100%, and I have this sneaking suspicion that this next MX vs. ATV game is going to be there too. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, that's just what I've been talking about from the very beginning, guys. I done kept it real from the jump, dude. I done told you all this so long ago. Some of you boys got so mad at me over nothing. And here, look at all the proof of all that shit I was saying all the way back then. Just make it a little more like Reflex. Make the feeling of the bike a little more, you know, a lot of you dudes thought I was trying to make it like a simulator or some bullshit. That was never the case. Whenever I was going in there and saying, make it more skill gap, make the rhythms more skill gap, have more of a, a penalty to coming up short or over jumping something. Oh, by the way, Reflex has better tough blocks too than Supercross 3, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. But yeah, over all these years of the reviews of these Milestone games and, MX vs. ATV All Out and all these other games, all these other motocross games, this is what I've been saying the whole time. If they could just get it a little more like Reflex, if they could just get the feeling a little more like that, if you could just whip both your thumbsticks the same direction and not be forced to turn them opposite directions, it would be so much better. As you can see in Supercross 3, it's so much better. Having a real leaning forward and backwards hucking system, as you can see, so much better in Supercross 3. Having actual skill gap jump rhythms and shit, as you can see in Supercross 3. I mean, this is all the blueprint that's really already been laid out by Reflex. It's already been put out there by Reflex. All you got to do is run from that and make your own game out of it, but base a lot of the systems around Reflex. I mean, that is the ticket to making a great arcade motocross game. Been saying it this whole time. And, people think I'm just an MX vs. ATV fanboy or a Reflex fanboy or an MX Simulator fanboy. Shit, I guess I'm a fanboy of everything. Now I'm a Milestone fanboy too. Of all the positive things I'm saying about Supercross 3, now I'm a Milestone fanboy. Oh, man. It's just so funny because all these idiots are having to come to this realization. All I've been doing, speaking my real ass opinion this whole time. There ain't been no biased. There ain't been no, sugarcoating or being a fanboy of this game or a hater. There's been none of that. There's been none of it this whole time. And me being so positive about Supercross 3 is just proving that point so hardcore to these idiots. They can't stand it, dude. They can't stand it. God damn. Showing out they can't stand me. You know what I'm saying, dog? Shit. But anyways, yeah, that's just the main gist of this video. If you like the style of Reflex, if you like the feel of Reflex, you're going to be pleasantly surprised when you start getting into Supercross 3 and kind of getting there to the feeling of it. I will say the sort of scrubbing system to Reflex is definitely better than Supercross 3. Talking specifically about the scrubbing system, okay? When you turn real sharp right over a jump face, really being able to scrub, I think they can still improve on that in Supercross 3. And even the whip system in Supercross 3, I think it's a lot better than what they've done previously, but I still think they can improve on it, make it a little more natural looking like it does in Reflex, make it just look a little more realistic like it does in Reflex, certain things like that. I think it definitely help them out, but yeah, man. Alive was worse than Reflex. MX vs. ATV Supercross was worse than Alive. But now we're on the incline. Now we're on the come up again. So be looking out for these next couple arcade motocross games coming out from MX vs. ATV and the next Milestone games. Be looking out, dog. I'm telling you. They're starting to get these physics shits figured out. And it's taken them a while, but they're starting to get it again. So really, really cool to see. It's what I've been wanting this whole time, dude. That's why I made all these rant videos. This is why I did all this. That's why I laid my neck on the line, right? This is why I did all this. Had to tell it like it was. Had to give my real opinion. Had to shit on some of these games. Had to lose some subscribers. A lot of subscribers. But guess what, bitch? I also gained a lot too. So it all evens out, dog. It all evens out.